This is Dr. Rebecca Carley. I'm a medical doctor trained as a surgeon who stopped working in hospitals in the early 1990s after witnessing euthanasia, research fraud, and experimentation on poor people without their knowledge or consent. My special guest is Jeanice Barcelo, who I consider a sister in healing and getting the word out. She is a transformational teacher, a birth activist, and whistleblower. She is an outspoken leader in the movement to expose the violence of hospital birth and to get birth out of the hospitals and back into the home. She has lectured extensively on this topic and has created an important curriculum designed to help end the lineage of abuse, violence, and trauma. Trust me, the abuse that's going on all around us is so dark, and nothing's going to change unless we face what's going on. And as Jeanice has experienced herself, it starts in the hospital. So take it away, Jeanice.
In my work, part of what I do is I talk about what is being done to pregnant women in prenatal care and what is being done to babies and to pregnant mothers during the hospital birth process. And anybody that listens to what I have to share today that has given birth in a hospital will recognize many of the things that I talk about and will begin to be able to think about them differently. They're going to take the baby away from the mother absolutely within the first hour. This is mandatory in hospitals, and it's absolutely mandatory that they should not do it. The bonding should not be interrupted at all for the first hour at least, and ideally for at least 3 to 5 hours. That mother and baby should be skin to skin, or the baby and the father should be skin to skin if the mother is unconscious for any reason or cannot be with the baby. Bonding should never be interrupted because there is a cocktail of chemicals that will happen only once in this child's life, and that's going to happen at birth. And those chemicals, those hormones, are what are going to bond that family and create the neurobiology of love that can keep the family together forever. Birth should be a major, big-time love event. I mean, huge love. Neurochemicals of love flooding the bodies of mother, father, baby, and any sisters or brothers who might be present. Okay, everybody will be feeling it in a natural birth. And that's how it's supposed to be, so that the glue of love will keep that family together, and that memory of birth will bond them forever. Or the opposite. If there's trauma, we can imagine that that relationship is going to end up being toast at some point. Okay, if there's trauma, there's going to be a breakdown in the mother-child bond that will likely last throughout life, unless some healing happens. It is huge that they're taking the baby from the mother, but in addition to that, and also this is the cause of postpartum depression, if your baby is not with you, mom, skin to skin, your body has no evolutionary context in which to understand why, after the process of birth, the baby is not on top of your body with you. So the body says, my baby must be dead. And it will produce the hormones of grief, the neurobiology of grief, the neurobiology of mourning. And this is called postpartum depression. This is a result of all of our hormones being so interfered with, and also the separation between a mother and a baby after birth. And it is methodical, purposeful, deliberate, and evil. They're going to take your baby. They're going to put burning poison in your baby's eyes. And do you know why they're going to do that? They're going to tell you it's so that your baby doesn't go blind. But, hospitals are maybe 100 years on the scene. For millennia, we've been giving birth, and babies didn't go blind, and we have to be insane to believe what they say, but we do because we are insane. We are mind-controlled, and we let them put the poison in our baby's eyes. But here's the thing. Eye contact is a primary means to activate the brain to produce the chemicals of love and human bonding. So the eye contact is of primary importance. When your baby comes out, Dad, either you or your partner, you want to be looking in your baby's eyes. You don't want your baby's eyes to be looking at anybody else except you. And you certainly don't want anybody to put poison in your baby's eyes and interfere with your baby seeing clearly.
As we talk about all these things, and you just see how one travesty leads to the next, once the mother's diagnosed with postpartum depression, they're going to put her on psych drugs. And then that's going to further interfere with the bonding, with all the side effects of psych drugs, not to mention the mother not being able to, breastfeed if she's taking all these toxic poisons, et cetera, et cetera.
They're also going to put a hat on your baby. The reason they're doing this is because your baby's head has a distinct smell. And that smell is because it's emitting pheromones that also activate the neurobiology of love. So we're going to put a hat that smells like chemicals and has been washed in chemicals or is filled with flame retardants. We're going to put that on the baby's head. So now the mother can't smell her baby. Her baby can't see her. The smell's interrupted, the eye's interrupted. They're going to swaddle the baby and prevent skin to skin. So if the baby can't feel its mother, it's going to be wrapped so tight in a toxic blanket filled with chemicals that it's going to go into parasympathetic shock. It's going to dissociate. That's what swaddling does. Again, you can look at the research, the long-term impact of swaddling, and what's really happening in the baby's brain when the baby is swaddled. It is not resting. It has extremely high levels of cortisol. The baby is in shock. The conscious mind tends to block out the most difficult things that we've experienced. And it does that because if these memories came flooding into your mind, your whole body would re-adrenalize and you could be severely re-traumatized and the trauma would be compounded. So it's a built-in mechanism that the body and the brain have to prevent a system overwhelm and system shutdown. So we want to be aware that the memories need to be brought forth in a way that's gentle for our system, that our system can handle the memories at a pace that's easy for us and in a way that's easy for us.
Right. If I could just interject something, because I want, a lot of this information is new to people, and I want to underline one of the things you said, which is that trauma that's experienced from conception on is stored in the cells. Our cells have cellular memory. And one of the most dramatic areas I learned about this was from someone by the name of Rich Winkle, who I know that you know. This is a man who has studied the consequences of circumcision and how this traumatizes young boys. And so, this is a very important concept for people to realize. Just as I teach people about, detoxing, it's better to avoid the poisons in the first place. Same thing with these situations. There are ways that you can heal yourself, but much better to avoid the situations in the first place.
Well, very, very true. I mean, it's very hard when we're 30, 40, 50 years old and beginning to realize the amount of trauma that we've been exposed to, and we seek to heal it because we have 30, 40, 50 years of neurological repetition that has enforced the trauma, compounded the trauma, forced us to recreate the trauma and relive the trauma, which makes it take more time to move it out. It's way better to help children come into this dimension without trauma. And if we believe that they have had trauma, that we seek to help them heal it right away before the neurological repetition kicks in.